What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today, Andrew and I are going to be comparing arguably the two best pearls in the current line, the Fatal Venom and the Jackal Flash. Stay tuned after the intro. Alright, so the Fatal Venom and the Jackal Flash are easily my two favorite pearls in the current line. They do have a couple things in common, but for the most part, they are two completely different bowling balls. And the one thing that I do want to say is that for me personally, the Jackal Flash feels like the big brother to the Fatal Venom. So the Fatal Venom is like a mini version of that Jackal Flash. So we'll start off with the Fatal Venom. The Fatal Venom has the gear core, which is obviously one of the greatest cores that we've ever made. It has an RG of 2.48 and a max differential of 0.034 in 15 pounds. Wrapped around that gear core is the Infusion Pearl cover, which comes out of a box at a 5500 laser scan polish. For this video, both the Fatal Venom and the Jackal Flash are finished at a 4000 grit. I prefer to throw my bowling balls without the polish, and since drilling both of these bowling balls, I have kept them both at that 4000 finish. If you guys like this video and like the content that I'm making, I would super appreciate if you hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date every time I drop a new video. Then we have the Jackal Flash, which has the Predator V2 core, which is my personal favorite asymmetrical core. It has an RG of 2.47, a differential of 0.054, and an intermediate differential of 0.015 in 15 pounds. So this is one of the things that the balls had in common. They both have really low RGs. So both the Jackal Flash and the Fatal Venom are going to want to get into a roll fairly early, but then the Jackal Flash is going to produce significantly more flare because that differential is so much higher in the Flash versus the Fatal. Then wrapped around that Predator V2 core is the Infusion HV Pearl cover. So it's the same base formula as the Jackal Flash, but this is designed to handle the higher volumes. And then the Jackal Flash comes out of box at a 5000 laser scan polish. But like I said earlier, both of these bowling balls are going to be finished at a 4000 grit. Both Andrew and myself are really loving both the Fatal and the Jackal Flash. Andrew typically doesn't super match up to the asymmetrical balls because his ball roll is already so forward. He doesn't need the asymmetry of the ball to make it be even more forward. But in throwing this Jackal Flash, he said that it was the most symmetrical rolling asymmetrical ball that he had ever thrown. And for him, that is a very, very good thing. Let me know down below in the comments if you have either the Jackal Flash or the Fatal Venom and what you're thinking about them so far. I'm going to take you guys out on the lanes now so you can see Andrew and myself tossing the Jackal Flash and the Fatal Venom. Thank you guys for joining Andrew and myself for this in-depth comparison between the Fatal Venom and the Jackal Flash. Now, as always, we're going to show you every single shot that we threw in the session, the good shots and the bad. If all we did was show you the good shots, then we can make any bowling ball look absolutely amazing. For this video, Andrew and I decided to bowl here at Samstown because on the fresh, the pearls look better here than they do at South Point. All my videos are done on a fresh, typical house shot. Now, getting started here in this video, the lanes were super tight down lane, which is very not typical for here at Samstown. Usually the pearl bowling balls on the fresh here at Samstown are absolutely King Kong. One of the things I said earlier was that the Fatal Venom was like a mini version of the Jackal Flash. And what I meant by that was that the ball motion on the lane is very similar to that of the Jackal Flash, except that it's a little bit less. Like it hooks a little bit less, shapes a little bit less because the engine is so much smaller than it is on the Jackal Flash. But the motions are very, very similar. On the fresh, I had the Fatal Venom about 3 to 4 boards less here at Samstown. Andrew had the Fatal Venom, I would say around the same, about 3 or 4 boards more. But both balls he had significantly more than me because his rev rate is so much higher and because his ball roll is so much more forward than mine is. And then lately, for me personally, both of these balls, the Fatal Venom and the Jackal Flash, have been amazing step down balls from the Forge Flare. Now, I would go to the Fatal Venom after the Forge Flare if the back ends were really booming and I needed something that was really gonna read it super hard. And then if the back ends weren't super crispy, I would go to the Jackal Flash after the Forge Flare. But both of these balls are really, really good options on the fresh, especially the Jackal Flash because it has that much larger engine. Both of these bowling balls fall into that super versatile category. Andrew and myself are two completely different bowlers, and we're bowling in two completely different parts of the lane, but both of these bowling balls look really, really good for both of us. I'm playing them significantly straighter than Andrew is, but both of them are getting down lane, making a nice motion down lane, and going through the pins the right way from two completely different angles. For me, I typically don't match up super well to pearls, and that is because my rev rate is lower. I'm typically a little bit more around it. I'm not as much up the back as Andrew is, but both of these bowling balls match up super well to my game, and I think it's because of that low RG. That low RG wants to get both of these bowling balls into a roll fairly early, but because they're both Infusion Pearl base covers, it's going to want to push the ball down lane, and it has a amazing down lane motion. I am absolutely loving, and I have said this a ton, that I love this Infusion Pearl cover. Andrew historically doesn't match up super well to asymmetrical core bowling balls, and that has to do directly because his ball roll is so forward. So when you have that super forward ball motion with these asymmetrical cores, they tend to roll super forward for him in the back part of the lane and tend not to shape. But this Jackal Flash, like I said earlier, is the most symmetrical rolling asymmetrical ball that he has ever thrown. So he gets that symmetrical shape down lane with a much larger engine. And to me, I love the motion that the Jackal Flash produced for Andrew. Because the motion of both of these bowling balls is fairly similar on the lane, it makes for a very easy recommendation. If you're someone who has a little bit higher of a rev rate, maybe like Andrew, maybe even a little less than Andrew, I would suggest something like the Fatal Venom would be a very good option for you. And then if you're someone who's in the lower rev rate category, maybe like my rev rate, maybe a little bit lower than my rev rate, something like the Jackal Flash will be your absolute best friend because you're going to get a very similar motion just with that bigger ball. Now, between the two of these bowling balls, I think that the Fatal Venom will be the more versatile of the two, just because not everyone is going to match up with the big asymmetrical core balls. But with that being said, I think that both of these balls are extremely versatile, and personally, I take both of these balls to lead. Ultimately, for me, what I think makes these balls so special, and the reason I match up with them so well, is because of the cores. The Trident Nemesis, the VIP, and the Supra all have the Infusion base covers, but the RGs in them are all on the higher side, and I don't match up with them as well. And I think that's because since the RG is so high, it wants the balls to be a little bit too long, while the Fatal Venom and the Jackal Flash, the RGs are significantly lower, being the 248 and 247. The core wants them to get into a roll a little bit earlier, while still producing that amazing down lane shape and motion that these Infusion cover balls are giving. The same is true for Andrew. He has a Supra drilled that is entirely way too long and way too angular, which is why I think him and I both match up with the Fatal Venom and the Jackal Flash so much. And then another reason why me specifically I match up better with those balls, with these two balls, is because the RG is lower, so they take really well to surface. Both the Fatal Venom and the Jackal Flash are on the longer side, especially with the polish. But for me, once I knock down that polish and hit it with like a 3,000 or 4,000 pad, they are absolutely amazing. It's enough surface to throw on the fresh from a little bit straighter, but not too much surface that they're really good options as go-to balls. The last couple weeks in league for me, these two balls have been amazing as go-to balls after the Forge Flare, like I mentioned earlier, with that 3,000 or 4,000 grip finish. It's no secret that two of my favorite balls of all time are the Venom Shock and the Jackal Ghost. Now, the Fatal Venom, in my opinion, is a absolute true Pearl version of the Venom Shock. It is a very similar ball motion on the lane, just a little bit longer and a little bit more angular down lane. Then the Jackal Flash shares the same Predator V2 core as the Jackal Ghost, but with the Infusion HV Pearl cover. So again, it is a very similar motion as the Jackal Ghost, just a little bit longer and a little bit more shape down lane. And that is a very good thing because they are direct comparison balls to two of my favorite balls of all time. It is my opinion that you cannot go wrong with either one of these balls in your bag. If you're looking for bowling balls that get down lane and create shape, look no further than the Fatal Venom and the Jackal Flash. Be on the lookout for my next video where I am finally doing the surface video for the Forge Flare. Well, there you have it, folks. There's my in-depth comparison between the Jackal Flash and the Fatal Venom. Let me know down below in the comments what you thought about this video, and if you would like to see more videos like this in the future. Click right here to watch one of my other videos. Click right here to subscribe. Right here. Till next time, guys.